Hello everyone, my fan and I are here to bring you my review of Captain America, the first Avenger. It's looks like it's gonna be pretty hot outside and I've just showered, so I figured I might as well do the review now while I generally don't look disgusting. Here is our initial reaction to Captain America. Now, if you need to have that translated, that was shield, stars and stripes, awesome. So generally, it was a good movie. I honestly feel like this was one of the better superhero movies to come out recently. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I feel like it's up there with Iron Man, and it was definitely worth reviewing. Well, if you don't want spoilers, what are you doing on the internet? First off, Captain America has some of the strongest writing I've ever seen, especially the Colonel. The Colonel was one of the funniest characters in any superhero movie recently, I feel like. It had the perfect amount of sass to it. He was your standard Southern general, except, he's gruffer and manlier than this because his testicles have dropped by this point in time. Had a lot of just amazing one-liners, as most Southern generals do. I don't know why Hollywood has a strange fascination with military officers being wisecrackers, but I like it. It's really funny. The main issue with the script that I was afraid of going into this was that it's going to be incredibly, incredibly cheesy. Because let's face it, Captain America is somebody in blue, white, and red pajamas fighting for America. I mean, most superheroes are, patriotic in some way. Captain America is patriotism. So there's always that risk of being like, we've got to fight for America. And it's not incredibly interesting. However, they actually played it off very, very well. They managed to make a character that wasn't flawed without making him obnoxious. Well, they avoided the Twilight Syndrome. That's what Captain America is. Steve Rogers is pure good. Bucky is pure good. All of them are pure good, and the enemy is pure evil, and I'm glad they kept it that way, because that is the core of Captain America. Just like Iron Man is, it's important to Iron Man to have Tony Stark be flawed, because Tony Stark is a very flawed individual, and that's always been a core element. I'm glad that they didn't force something like that upon Captain America. Anybody who knows anything about Captain America knows that it's a story about a weak, very scrawny, very health-challenged man who becomes basically a superhero and a super soldier, my bad. Not a superhero, a super soldier. And he becomes the main reason the Nazis fear America. So sadly, the skinny, scrawny kid can't actually become a hero until they make him incredibly, incredibly beefy. Which does not bode well for my future. And he becomes the reason that they win the war, because pretty much every superhero has rewritten history by this point. If they were actually around, a lot of Jews would have been saved. Strangely enough, they never actually touch on that issue. I should not have brought up this topic. Chris Evans as Captain America was awesome. I was afraid that, after his whole Human Torch thing, I thought, this guy is not right for Captain America at all. But you know what? He pulled it off. And he pulled it off because he kept it simple. I was afraid that Chris Evans was going to be overly dramatic. I was afraid that he was going to be like, I'm skinny. But he wasn't. He really, really wasn't. And it worked great. You could see him pushing forward for justice. It was kind of like a not crazy Rorschach, which was very, very nice. For most of the beginning of the movie, Chris Evans is very skinny. I'm not sure how they did it, if they just shot the scenes very, very far apart, or what. But however they did it, it looked perfect. He looked really skinny. And then when he beefed out, I was like, he doesn't look like that. Then I remembered, that's what he looks like. It took me a while to get used to him being muscular, but once they beef him out and make him like a hunk, he grows in me. He grew on me. Erection. What was really great was I loved Bucky. And I loved Bucky because they didn't do what I was afraid they were going to do. They did not do a whole, oh, I used to be the big tough guy, and now Captain America is. Steve Rogers, I should say. Now Steve is the big hero. Steve? Steve. Really, who has their asses saved by Steve? They actually made Bucky loyal to the end, and that was which was so great, was they didn't rely on, oh, these have to be flawed characters. They can't be heroes, no! But they were. Not a single one of the protagonists had, like, a dark... The closest they had was there was a blonde chick who was kind of a whore, and you know what? Blonde chicks are kind of whores. I retract my statement. Blonde women are fantastic. Honestly, the only thing that kind of pulled away from the writing for me was the romance that felt a little bit forced at times. Just, only a little bit. I honestly feel like they pulled it off very well. And the lady playing his love interest was actually really, really good. Whoa, a beautiful actress that can act? That never happens anymore. You know, it's like, when did we get past the January Jones era and get into, like, women who could convey many emotions while at the same time being drop-dead gorgeous? Honestly, she reminded me of Maureen O'Hara. None of you know who Maureen O'Hara is. The thing that really sets this apart from the other superhero movies so far, besides being good, although Iron Man was really great, I honestly feel like Captain America and Iron Man, right up there. My girlfriend disagrees.
Iron Man. Captain America, Iron Man.
But I honestly feel Captain America is the only superhero movie so far that has taken a world and pulled off the surroundings flawlessly. And they did that through incredible sets, incredible costumes, and incredibly accurate period script writing. Although honestly, yeah, a lot of the lines are probably pretty modernized. They didn't say anything that was like way out there, and they stayed very, very consistent to the characters all the way throughout. One of my favorite moments is they did the stereotypical, it's near the beginning, just after he's become buff, like really, really buff, and you're just like, So just as the audience has finally calmed down, there's a chase scene. They're trying to steal like the serum that helped make him really, really powerful. And he takes off after the guy, and he grabs a kid, a little redheaded kid, and you're like, no, not the redheads. They're a dying breed. They're protected. You can't kill an endangered species. And he takes him and he throws him into the water. And you're like, oh god, now he's gonna get away, and Captain America's gonna have to jump in and save the kid. But the kid is like, don't worry, mister, go get him. I can swim. He wasn't Cockney though, because they're in New York. So really, he was more like, don't worry, mister, I can... Wow, I went into Cockney. This is terrible. Why can't I do anything without being British? Don't worry about it. Forget about it. Don't worry about it, mister. I can swim. That was a very, very adult child right there. A very adult New York child. But aren't they all? I mean, why, cocaine does that to you. So they lampshaded that entire, like, incredibly stereotypical moment, which was fantastic. They avoided so many cliches in this movie. Takes off, punches the guy out. And, of course, they use cyanide. That's a horrible, horrible thing that nobody even has to say, oh, no, he swallowed a cyanide pill anymore. Americans just know what cyanide is. Come here, son. It's time for your suicide lessons. I'm actually very, very glad that they handled the Captain America costume fairly well. The really, really ridiculous-looking one, they made a show costume. Like, they actually had a Captain America show. Like, propaganda going around like, I'm gonna punch out the Red Skull. Stage punch. Whoa! That was really, really well done, and it was delightfully camp. They saved all the cheesy moments for the stage show, and that was fantastic. That also really helped them pinpoint the era. It was all the propaganda and everything that they put in there, and the showgirls were gorgeous. The soundtrack was fantastic. They did an arrangement of Star Spangled Man that they put in at the end. That was just amazing. I'm like, yes, that is so period. Thank you for doing that. So, basic summary. Characters, very strong ensemble. Incredible ensemble. There was nobody that I didn't feel good about. Except for kind of the blonde lady, but honestly it was because of her part. Just felt a little bit forced. That was the only thing I didn't like about it. So there's the script. The story was amazing, except for the end was a little bit forced and a little bit rushed. But I'm okay with that because I realized that they had to feed it into the Avengers. And so in the grand scheme of things, I'm perfectly fine with the, oh, we're bringing you 70 years forward in time thing. Even though it felt a little bit cheap. Costumes, amazing. I think the best so far. Story was incredibly well done. I actually really, really cared when Bucky died. All the characters had weight to me. None of them annoyed me, which is rare for not a single character to annoy me. I'm an incredibly critical person. I'm a terrible person. Cinematography was fantastic. They captured the mood, the colors, the costumes, the set. Everything was fantastic. Technically, the fight scenes were even all good. There wasn't anything in the fight scenes that I was like, "Rah." All in all, I would give this movie an 8 out of 10. Everyone, go see this. It's your duty as an American. If you don't live in America, stop using our bandwidth. I think they actually made it look like it was a side effect of. Go home, Peppers. Go home, Peppers. Go home, Peppers.